Welcome back to the Deep Dive. Today we're tackling something huge, maybe one of the biggest, well, failures of modern culture, you could say.
That's right.
We're going deep into love,
Huh.
but not the, hearts and flowers version.
No.
We're talking about love as a real necessary action, something rigorous.
It's a really crucial deep dive, actually, because the sources we've been looking at, they paint a pretty tough picture.
Yeah.
They basically argue we're living in what they call a profoundly loveless culture.
Wow. Loveless culture.
Yeah, the argument is that, particularly in the U.S., there's been this turning away from what love really means in practice. And the risk, well, it's this drift into a kind of wilderness of spirit.
A wilderness. Like, we could get lost.
So deep, potentially, that finding our way back becomes almost impossible. That's the warning.
That's incredibly heavy. But it also feels kind of true, doesn't it?
It resonates.
We are completely obsessed with the idea of love. I mean, it drives everything in pop culture, music, movies, you name it.
Fair.
But the sources are saying we rarely have a serious, grown-up public conversation about what love actually is. We just talk about wanting it, the yearning.
Exactly. And even how we talk about that yearning has shifted so much. Think back to maybe the 60s, 70s. The whole vibe was optimistic.
All you need is love.
Right. That was the soundtrack. Now compare that to, say, later decades. Tina Turner's huge hit.
What's love got to do with it? Instantly recognizable.
Totally. And that song just nailed the cultural shift, didn't it? Towards cynicism, skepticism about the whole thing.
And that cynicism, it seems like it spreads. There's a point from Harold Kushner in the material that's pretty chilling.
What's that?
He worries we're raising generations, young people, who are literally afraid to love.
Afraid? Why?
Because they've seen the damage, the fallout, when it goes wrong. So they end up, as he puts it, looking for intimacy without risk.
Pleasure without the emotional investment.
Exactly. Trying to get the good parts without the vulnerability.
And that really sets up our mission here, doesn't it? If we keep treating love like it's just, I don't know, a passive feeling that washes over you.
Or some fantasy that just magically appears.
Right. Then we're basically set up to fail. We need new ways of seeing it, functional visions of love.
Yeah.
Visions that frame it as an active practice, something built on commitment, yes, but also radical honesty and even justice.
Okay, let's unpack that. We need to redefine it because we use the word love for everything, don't we?
Oh, completely. Pizza, pets, partners.
Parents. It gets messy. The dictionary doesn't really help either. It mostly talks about romance, passion. Love is a noun, a thing.
And there's an interesting side effect noted in the sources because of that fuzziness.
It is.
That apparently many men in relationships can be hesitant to use the word love.
Why is that?
Because they feel women might make too much of it. It shows that gap in understanding, right? One person hears feeling, the other hears massive commitment.
So the solution proposed in this critique, it sounds simple, but it feels revolutionary.
Right. What is it?
Use love as a verb.
Precisely. That's the core shift. And the key definition we really need to anchor ourselves to comes from M. Scott Peck, the psychiatrist.
Okay, what's Peck's definition?
He defines love as the will to extend oneself for the purpose of nurturing one's own or another's spiritual growth.
Okay, say that again. The will to extend oneself.
For the purpose of nurturing one's own or another's spiritual growth.
Right. That immediately cuts through all the fluffy romantic stuff. If it's an act of will, a choice,
yes,
a deliberate extension of yourself,
right,
then it's not some passive instinct, it sounds like.
Oh, it sounds like work. Is real love supposed to feel like effort all the time?
That's a really important distinction. The effort isn't necessarily in feeling love constantly like some emotional high.
Okay.
The effort is in maintaining the commitment to that nurturing, to the growth. It directly counters that idea that we just love instinctively without thought.
And this helps avoid a big psychological trap. Exactly. The trap of confusing love with mere emotional investment, what the sources call cathexis.
Cathexis, right? Explain that a bit more.
Sure. So cathexis is just feeling deeply drawn to someone. Investing your feelings or emotions in them, it's that intense connection, the attraction, the bond.
Okay, the feeling part.
Yes. The problem is people often insist they love someone just because they cathect with them, because they feel that pull.
Even if their actions are not loving.
Even if they are actively hurting and neglecting that person. Yes.
So that intense feeling, the attachment, it gets used like a free pass. But I love them.
Yeah.
Even while behaving badly.
Which brings us to a really harsh but necessary conclusion from Peck's definition.
What's that?
Love and abuse cannot coexist, period.
Wow.
Okay, if love is fundamentally about nurturing spiritual growth, then abuse and neglect are literally the opposite. They are anti-love by definition.
The source material uses that really strong image, doesn't it? The man who beats his family,
Yeah.
but then goes to the bar and passionately tells everyone how much he loves them.
Under this definition, love as will, as nurturance, that's just impossible. It's a contradiction in terms.
And this is where it gets really uncomfortable personally.
How so?
Well, the source suggests that many adults hold on to these fuzzy, feeling-based ideas of love precisely because accepting the truth.
The truth that love is action.
Yes, accepting that would force them to admit that maybe their own families, their upbringing, might have been loveless or even abusive.
And that's a massive psychological earthquake for anyone.
It's a brutal thing to face.
Yeah.
So how do the sources suggest people handle that kind of realization if their childhood love doesn't fit this definition?
By first understanding that emotional violence often disguises itself as care, it gets really confusing.
All right.
There's that disturbing anecdote shared in the material about childhood abuse.
The smart girl one.
Exactly. 1 minute, a child gets praise, affirmation, you're such a smart girl. Hours later, the same caregiver tells her that thinking she's smart will make her go crazy and be put in a mental institution.
That's incredibly cruel. That whiplash.
It's that constant push-pull, that mix of attention and, well, psychological cruelty. It's designed to confuse. It might look like care sometimes, but the source is clear. It's not love.
So having a clear definition is like the first step to untangling that confusion.
Absolutely. It provides a baseline for understanding what was really happening.
Okay, so if denial and confusion about love often start in the family, we also need to look bigger at the culture.
Right.
And that brings us squarely to the structural barriers. The big one the sources really focus on is patriarchy.
Yes, and it's framed very much as an issue of, let's call it, narrative authority. Who gets to define love?
And historically.
Historically, most of the revered books and theories about love, written by men.
So men are the theorists of love.
They're positioned that way, while women are often implicitly cast as its practitioners.
What does that mean, practitioners?
The ones expected to do the loving, often based on men's ideas. Men theorize from a position of perhaps having received love or imagining it. Women's insights, often coming from a place of unmet needs or practical experience, get less weight.
And this bias, it actively undermines women's perspectives.
The source gives a sharp example. If a single woman, say, over 40, tries to talk seriously about love as a concept,
She gets dismissed.
often, yeah, as just being desperate for a man, not taken seriously as someone doing real philosophical undertaking,
Whereas a man writing about it,
is seen as objective, theoretical. The double standard is stark. Men can write about love through fantasy, through what they imagine or wish it was.
and it's taken seriously. The example used is The Bridges of Madison County.
Perfect example. Sentimental story. Arguably shallow.
But written by a man, it becomes this huge mainstream success, almost treated like a philosophical statement.
Now imagine if a woman wrote that exact same story. The source suggests it likely would have been brushed off as, trivial women's fiction.
It's fascinating how deep this structural confusion goes. Because few writers, even those trying to define love, actually tackle patriarchy head-on.
They don't connect the dots.
They don't connect male domination of women and children as a fundamental obstacle to love itself.
John Bradshaw is mentioned as an exception. He believed that ending patriarchy is one step in the direction of love.
But his ideas didn't quite catch on
Like the books that kind of reinforce traditional, even sexist roles, no. Think about the lasting power of things like Men Are From Mars, Women Are From Venus.
Ah, yeah, still popular.
Hugely. And those kinds of works, the critique argues, stay wedded to belief systems that suggest men and women are just fundamentally different, emotionally hardwired in separate ways.
Despite the evidence.
Despite, concrete evidence showing these differences are overwhelmingly learned, socialized behaviors, not innate biological destiny.
It's a paradox, isn't it? If men and women were from totally different planets emotionally.
Like women owning feelings, men owning reason.
Then how did men become the main authorities on love in the first place?
Exactly. The system maintains itself by keeping us confused about who even owns emotional knowledge.
Okay, so love is a verb. It requires challenging patriarchy. What about the day-to-day practice? What actions are key?
Well, the sources are really clear on this. The absolute foundation for love as action is honesty, radical honesty.
Honesty.
John Wellwood puts it beautifully. An intimate relationship should be a sanctuary from the world of facades, a place you can be real.
Let's be honest about honesty. We lie, right? A lot.
Oh, yeah. Sociologists confirm it. Lying is commonplace. We do it to avoid conflict, spare feeling.
Or just make life smoother.
Sure. But it's also, and this is important, a tool for power and control.
How so?
While the sources suggest men might lie more often to dodge responsibility for bad behavior or to avoid confrontation, there's even a theory it starts early as a way for boys to handle powerful mothers by hiding things.
In women.
Women might use lies differently, maybe to manipulate by pretending to be powerless when they aren't.
And this connects back to patriarchy.
Definitely. Patriarchal ideas of masculinity often force men to create a kind of false self,
How do you mean?
learning to hide their real feelings, to seem tough or hard. But that creates this deep estrangement from their own emotions.
Which makes it hard to take responsibility.
Extremely hard if you're cut off from feeling the pain you cause. How can you truly own it? You literally might not connect your action to their consequence internally.
This idea of responsibility, accountability,
Yeah?
it links directly to another huge concept, justice.
Yes.
And the source material makes a really stark claim here, one that needs attention. It says, there can be no love without justice.
Wow. No love without justice.
Yeah. Where do we see that most clearly?
The sources point squarely at the family structure, especially regarding children.
Okay.
Children are often denied full civil rights, essentially treated like the property of parenting adults.
Property, that's strong language.
It is, but the argument is that this view creates the perfect conditions for lovelessness, for chaos, even abuse. And this isn't just in troubled homes. It happens in wealthy, educated families too, according to Lucia Hodgson's work cited.
And the clearest example of this injustice, this confusion, is around discipline versus punishment.
Absolutely. When a parent punishes a child harshly, maybe physically, and then says,
I'm doing this because I love you.
right, that completely scrambles a child's understanding of love permanently.
It's the ultimate betrayal of that core definition, isn't it? Love as nurturance.
Totally, because loving discipline is about setting boundaries, teaching responsibility. It might involve timeouts or taking away privileges as a logical consequence.
Not causing pain.
Exactly. Harsh physical punishment is just coercion. The source has that anecdote about educated professionals at a party.
Defending hitting their kids.
Yes, defending hitting or pinching as necessary discipline. But these same people would be absolutely horrified if someone suggested doing that to their spouse.
Ah, the double standard again.
It screams that we deny children basic human rights that we grant adults, and that injustice prevents real love.
Okay, that's a powerful, difficult point.
Yeah.
So let's say we commit to honesty, we commit to justice in our relationships. What else is needed? We need the internal strength, right?
Yes, the internal capacity to sustain it. And that comes down to commitment, certainly, but also deep self-love.
Self-love. How do we actually build that? It sounds a bit abstract.
Nathaniel Branden's work on self-esteem offers a practical framework. Self-love isn't just feeling good about yourself, it's a practice.
Okay, like what?
It includes things like personal integrity, making sure your actions line up with your values, and living consciously. Meaning engaging in real self-reflection, not just running on autopilot. Understanding why you do what you do.
And crucially, self-acceptance.
Yes. Actively working to replace that negative inner critic with, well, with kindness towards yourself, using affirmations maybe, but really meaning them.
Yeah, and another big one, especially highlighted for women.
Self-assertiveness,
Yeah.
absolutely critical.
Why, especially for women?
Because, as the source notes, women are often socialized to believe that asserting themselves, standing up for their needs and boundaries, is somehow unfeminine or aggressive.
So reclaiming that assertiveness is key for self-esteem.
Non-negotiable, the source suggests. If you can't stand up for yourself and treat yourself with basic respect, how can you truly show up in a loving, honest way for someone else? You need that internal foundation.
Okay. Internal work is key. What about external pressures, like work?
Huge factor. The source points out that doing work you genuinely hate is like a constant assault on our self-esteem.
Because we spend so much of our lives doing it.
Exactly. If that time is spent feeling diminished or compromised, it chips away at your sense of self-worth.
Yeah, so what's the alternative?
Well, this is where something like the Buddhist concept of right livelihood comes in.
Right livelihood.
Finding work that gives you satisfaction or at least aligns with your core values and spiritual well-being. It might mean making less money sometimes.
But prioritizing integrity, purpose.
Yes, that choice reinforces self-love rather than eroding it for external validation or just cash.
And that focus on acquisition, that brings us to maybe the biggest external threat identified in the sources.
Materialism.
Exactly. These are presented as the driving pathology of this whole loveless culture
How do they erode love specifically?
by fostering narcissism, essentially. When the whole culture tells you happiness comes from possessing things,
The natural human passion to connect gets twisted.
it gets replaced by the passion to possess. And that creates this constant feeling of lack, spiritually, emotionally. You always need more. It's an endless craving.
Which sounds incredibly isolating.
It is. It's a self-feeding loop of isolation.
Stanton Peele's insight here is sharp. He notes that addiction is not about relatedness.
Addiction. How does that connect?
Because people who desperately seek love often want it to work like a drug. They want that instant fix, that fulfillment, but without the actual work.
Without the commitment, the struggle, the honesty we talked about?
Precisely. So the antidote proposed is choosing to live more simply, maybe embracing communalism, sharing resources. That's presented as the primary way to resist that whole pathology of endless wanting.
So we've kind of come full circle, haven't we? To fix this loveless culture, the sources say we have to confront fear.
Fear seems to be the root.
It's positioned as the main force holding up all these structures of domination, patriarchy, unchecked capitalism systems that actually thrive when we're disconnected and afraid.
So the ultimate choice, the real transformation being asked for, it's summed up in this powerful thought. To return to love, to know perfect love, we surrender the will to power.
Surrender the will to power. What does that mean in practice?
It means giving up the need to dominate, to control outcomes, to protect the ego at all costs. True love, this active love, is described as unconditional.
But not passive.
Not at all. It demands commitment to constructive struggle, to change, to growth. It's not just bliss. It demands honesty, even when it's hard. It demands the terrifying willingness to be truly known.
And that vulnerability, that's the sticking point, isn't it? True love, defined this way, it forces us to confront ourselves.
It shines a light on the parts we'd rather hide or deny.
So maybe we often run from real love, choosing familiar, even loveless patterns, because sin requires an integrity, a vulnerability that feels too risky. It might alienate us from the worlds we've built.
That really is the ultimate challenge laid out here. If love means giving up control, shedding that false self, embracing a kind of messy, difficult, demanding vulnerability.
And the final question for you listening is really this.
When true love beckons, demanding that surrender and that honesty, are you ready to stop running?